verses 1 and 3. I waited patiently for the Lord, and he inclined unto me and heard my cry. He brought me up also out of an horrible pit, out of the miry clay, and set my feet upon a rock, and established my going. And he hath put a new song in my mouth, even praise unto our God. Many shall see it and fear, and shall trust in the Lord. Tonight I want to preach from the subject, a survivor's testimony. If you're here tonight, you're a survivor. And every survivor ought to have a testimony. It's a known fact that during the course of life, you and I will experience these things that the writer refers to as pits. I've already lived long enough to experience in various forms and fashions some of my own encounters with pits. There are many of you who are gathered here tonight at the seat of this annual conference after a year of laboring in the vineyard, whether clergy or laity, who have had in a very personal way your own experiences with some of the low places in life, some of the painful experiences of life. Some of you know all too well about life's pits. Brothers and sisters, this text informs us here in this 40th number of Psalms, which was written and composed, if you will, by David. This 40th number of Psalm, a Psalm of David. David wrote this psalm on the basis of his own personal experience. I want to tell you tonight, every now and then we ought to look back at our own personal experience. It's all right to talk about what God did for Daniel in the lion's den. It's all right to talk about what he did for Paul of Tarsus. Oh, but what a testimony to be able to talk about what God has done in your life. Every child of God, every born again believer ought to be a witness to the glory of God. I tell you tonight, we do well to listen to David. David, who was exposed to some painful, agonizing pits. David writes about his experiences, and by way of background, permits me to hasten to say that when David made reference in the text to being in a pit, David is not talking about a literal pit. David is talking about some of life situations. Y'all hear me? Not situations, but situations. Some difficult circumstances, some tremendous distresses, and David declares that it was so distressful, it was so difficult, it was so bad, until David said it just wasn't a pit, but it was a horrible pit. David says that there's a horrible pit, and there's much theological debate going on concerning what this pit might have been. Some suggest that it might have referred to his encounters with an angry king that forced him to flee for his life and run and hide himself from the wrath of King Saul. Others suggest that David was making reference to his experience as he had to run for his own life from his own son Absalom, who was sitting at the gate trying to turn his constituents from him. Or others suggest that David was writing about a painful and difficult situation, but whatever whatever David was referring to, one thing we know is that it was absolutely certainty. It was an experience that David never forgot. It was an experience that David would always remember. And oh, my brothers and sisters, David writes to us tonight at the opening of this annual conference to let us know that even though you may have been in a pit, even though it may have been dark, damnable, and distressing, you are a survivor tonight. When you look back, you can testify that God has brought you. I want to ask you a question tonight, if you will. What's your pit? What's your pit? I know you're looking here tonight with your regalia on. I know we at the seat of the annual conference, the choir that lifted our voices, but really tonight, what's your... Whether we go verbal or whether we go public or not, everybody has in one fashion or another a low place, a painful, agonizing circumstance, a difficult situation. Oh, but I tell you what, I gleaned a lot of insight from David. David declared some things about his pit. It was a situation that David was deeply in. It was a situation that David was deeply in the midst of. Oh, he was so deep and distressed until he could not get himself out of it. It was a situation that he found himself in that he could not even get himself out of. I've been there. I've been there. Oh, if I could have given life back to my grandmama and my daddy, I would have done that. But I couldn't help that situation. Oh, brothers and sisters, eventually we all come to those kinds of circumstances in spite of your education and out of all your intellect. You can't get yourself out of that. Don't care how much budget you pay. Don't care how good your report is. You know the truth of the matter. If it had not been, don't look at me like that. You know you had some places where you thought you wouldn't be here tonight, but God lifted you up and carried you over. You knew you probably wouldn't be here tonight and hear the choir saying, "And all we yet alive." But look what God has done. He has blessed you beyond your wildest imagination and expectation. And here you are tonight, going to look at you. Here you are, going to be sedated on God. You want to tell the Lord, thank you, because you brought me a mighty long way. I've learned some things from it helped me. This text has helped me. David was in a pit, and David declares he did not experience rapid rescue. Can I get a witness? That's the first thing that David tells us in the text. How do I know that David did not experience rapid rescue? Because David said, I waited